Hello everybody, welcome to the second tutorial session here where we will look into the first basic steps towards writing your own code. And of course, in order to write your own code, you need to understand the basic structure of a BioDynaMo simulation and how to create a new BioDynaMo project. And that's exactly what we're going to do here, following essentially the same steps that are currently described on the tutorial website that you can reach via the BioDynaMo main website, biodynamo.org. And we are essentially going to do this now together on an Ubuntu machine so that you can see how to create new projects, how to look at the source code and what the source code essentially does, and how to build and run such a simple project. And to do this, of course, it is important that you have correctly installed BioDynaMo, following the guidelines that were described also on the tutorial or on the user guide of BioDynaMo. And if you have any issues with that, please get in touch and we will help you to get this sorted out. Here we can see on a desktop computer, Ubuntu desktop computer, where I've installed BioDynaMo. I hope you're all also at this stage where you can use BioDynaMo, and maybe you have already followed some of the tutorial examples, and in that case that's great. But one way to see whether BioDynaMo works properly is if we go inside the BioDynaMo folder, where you should have first, of course, correctly installed BioDynaMo, but then also you can create a Hello World project. So you would type this. I don't do it now here because I already have one. But essentially, if you type BioDynaMo new Hello World, you should be able to create such a folder. And then if you go into the Hello World folder, then you should have there a source file with the code to simulate this simulation. So if you go to source file, and in this case it's a very simple example, of course. So when you want to look at this, then you can do that, for example, with Sublime. Hello world.h. So this is the example where we essentially define the simulation function. So we create a simulation object, we instantiate a resource manager, and here in this case I've added a line where I add a cell of diameter 30 to the simulation, and then I simulate it for one time step. So this one means one time step, and after the simulation I simply write out simulation completed successfully, and that's it. So let's have a look how this works. In order to execute it, we first need to build it. So that went fine, and then we run it, which also went fine. So in this case, you can see that the simulation was completed successfully. So if you can get to this stage, then you should have properly installed it. And you can also play a bit around with different things. For example, you can, instead of one time step, let's do 1000 time step. Oops. Still need to get used to the different keyboard here because of this remote desktop application, which works very well. No machine, I can really recommend it. However, the keyboard is slightly changed and I couldn't find out how to revert it to my original keyboard, so that's why sometimes I mistype. Anyway, now if we do the same thing again, we can actually directly build and run it by just typing in BioDynaMo run. We see also in this case some warnings. From what I know, this is just because of some issues with the compatibility for this specific Ubuntu version, but this is not really a problem. It will not change the outcome of the simulations. So you have seen that now it took a bit longer than before, but otherwise there is of course no difference. So, but I think this should be a good first step towards understanding the structure of your own projects within BioDynaMo, how you can create those. So of course, instead of typing BioDynaMo new hello world, you can type whatever project name you want to give to your project. So if you can, for example, say my project 1, then you can see here that it has been created now, and so you should here see my project 1 folder, and if you go into this folder, you see here we have again a source folder and the other standard files, the regional file and the CMake list file. And in this case, if we have a look at the my project H file, then we have again the same thing as I showed you before. So this is essentially added directly once one creates such a starting example or project. I hope this is clear. In case you have issues with this, I would really suggest to follow some of the guidelines here on this BioDynaMo website. You get to the user guide, troubleshooting, and of course feel free to contact us. So this is the email address that you could write to, and also something to have a look at is maybe the description of all the BioDynaMo structures, all the classes you can see here, class members. So these are all the different class members. It's quite a big list, and in particular Lucas Bright user and Ahmad Hessam have been very have been doing hard work to get all these many functions. So this is just A, and you can really have a look at the different functions then too, and get some idea of what one can do with BioDynaMo better than just of course from hearing. But anyway, this is now just the first step, and in the next steps we will have some examples where we look a bit more into how one can use BioDynaMo to simulate very simple exemplary simulations of cancer growth. Alright, thanks for your attention and see you very soon.